Hey everyone, it's Peter Kerr from Rock Daydream Nation. And today we've got the panel show back and we are covering one song from 2002, 20 years ago. So the task for this panel is pick one song from that year and we'll put together a Spotify playlist. And the task is just tell me why you like this song and just chat in general about this one song or one favorite song from 2002. We've got a big panel today. So we've got Joe B from Average Joe's web channel. We've got Todd Evans from the Contrarians and Grant's Rock Warehouse, etc., etc. We've got Bicyclelegs from Bicyclelegs channel, Reed Little from the Contrarians. We've got Armando Vendetti from the Sea of Tranquility. We've got Steve Deluxe from Rock and Metal Invasion, Peter Wicks from Wixie and John the Music Nut from the Contrarians, etc., etc. Welcome, guys. Big panel today.
Huge.
Hey, Peter.
Be here.
Hey. Alrighty. So why don't we start off with you, Joe B? Pick your one song in the playlist from 2002.
So at first I thought this was going to be really hard, and then one song popped up to me that I absolutely loved this year, and it's Dope Nose by Weezer. I think this song is great. In 2002, I don't know, the music scene was kind of like going through a transition. I was actually listening to No Doubt's album more than I was any metal albums or anything. And I loved the song Hash Pipe, and I thought this was a perfect follow-up to it. They admit they wanted to sound like a heavy metal band here, and that's why I like it. It just great hard driving hard rock, and I think the lyrics are funny, and it's a great song, and it's a great listen. So that's my song, Dope Nose by Weezer.
Good start. Good track opener. Thanks, Joe.
Excellent.
Todd, your number two.
Okay, so my song is Genius by Warren Zevon from his album My Rides Here. And I love this song. It's got a gorgeous string arrangement. Anton Fig on the drums plays this really understated drum part that's just very tasteful. And I think it's one of Warren's best vocal performances. The lyrics, I don't want to go too crazy with the lyrics because they're so spectacular, but apparently it's a song about a woman who runs off with a barber and leaves him. And he says, you and the barber make a handsome pair. Guess what? I never liked the way he cut your hair. I just thought that was so hilarious. And, but, you know, this album, I actually panicked because the back of it says 2001, but it actually came out in May of 2002. And really close to the time that he was diagnosed with cancer. And apparently the whole album is sort of a thematic album looking at death. And it's just a spectacular album, and that's a spectacular song. I love that on his last performance on the Letterman show, when he knew that he was ill, he performed that song, and David Letterman introduced it. And before he started playing it, Warren said, "Genius, modestly titled, Dave." So that's my pick, Genius from Warren Zevon.
That's a great pick, and he
Wonderful.
is just so underrated.
Absolutely.
No, that's a great pick. Well done. All right, Bicyclelegs. What have you got?
I've got to say, with that Warren Zevon song, that was on my longer list of songs that I had picked out for 2002. And you talk about the album being about death and that sort of thing. The car that he's in the back of on the front cover is actually a hearse.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So I've picked one that I think is very personal for me, and that is Blackest Eyes by Porcupine Tree. This was literally the first Porcupine Tree song I ever heard. I used to have a friend that I worked with when I worked in the public service 20 years ago. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. And he and I had similar tastes in music, and we used to swap CDs with each other. And we'd say, oh, you should check this out. And he'd say, oh, you should check this out, and so on and so on. And one day he gave me a copy of In Absentia. And yeah, I've been a huge Porcupine Tree fan ever since. I love the, it really is sort of almost everything they were doing condensed into a 4 or 5 minute song, because it starts off with this sort of ominous little beginning riff that's sort of going at an octave, and then it comes in with the big crunchy heavy riff. And then when it actually gets into the song part of it, it's much more sort of almost psychedelic and textured. And so it feels like, as I say, a sort of a condensation of everything that Porcupine Tree did in the space of 4 or 5 minute song. And I think for me anyway, it was the perfect introduction to this band. And I've been a massive fan of Porcupine Tree and Stephen Wilson ever since. So yeah, there you go, In Absentia. Sorry, Blackest Eyes.
Great
choice.
choice.
We're done. I'm gonna listen to it. Bicyclelegs.
That was my first backup.
I'm glad we swapped it around. Good stuff. Well done. Reed, what have you got?
Okay, well, this actually turned out to be harder for me than I expected, because 2002 kind of landed in the middle of there was a whole bunch of albums that came out in 2001 I loved, and a whole bunch of albums in 2003. And for a minute, I thought I was going to have to cheat, but then I just went, well, I'm completely obsessed with one David Bowie. And thank goodness he came out. Let me see if I can get this to not glare. He came out with Heathen in 2002. So for my pick for the song, I am going with his cover of the Pixies song Cactus. Now, my wife is a huge fan of the Pixies. I'm not a huge fan of the Pixies, but I love David Bowie's cover of this song. It's a vicious song. Apparently, Frank Black had very briefly worked in a prison and had been inspired by how awful conditions in a prison or possibly jail were, that he wrote this song about a guy literally sitting on the cement floor in his cell, so insane that all he wanted was for his girlfriend to prick herself on a cactus, smear the blood on a dress, and send it to him to prove that she's still alive. So that's a dark enough lyric that it meets the David Bowie requirement, not a man who did a ton of happy songs. Although ironically, there is a happy song on the album. Everybody Says Hi. He does an absolutely vicious cover of it. I think Bowie sometimes suffers from the fact that he and his musicians are so good that they simply produce far too slick of versions of kind of punky songs when he wants to cover it. But in this case, he's able to deliver the lyric, I think, right in that sweet spot. And it's so catchy. Bowie did a lot of very over orchestrated pieces. There's a lot of parts in the songs, a lot of instruments. So when you hear a really stripped back song that's very catchy, it's usually a cover tune, mostly Iggy Pop. But in this case, it's the Pixies. And he did it live for years and years. And it's any live version of it I've heard, like he does it on the Reality tour. And it's just fantastic. Like I said, one of the catchiest things he did in the 2000s. So yeah, Cactus from Heathen.
No, that's a great choice. And I think Heathen was a high watermark for Bowie in the early 2000s. And your comment about when Bowie, sometimes the punky songs were a bit slick. I think that's why he did Tin Machine, and he could let loose and be a little bit punky. But that's a whole different topic. Yeah, very experimental. Yeah. But that's a great choice. Well done. Armando, what have you got, mate?
From my choice, I'm picking Dream Theater from 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence, and I will be picking, let's see, I had 2 choices here, but I will be picking The Great Debate, which clocks in at a mammoth 13 minutes and 47 seconds. And it's your typical Dream Theater fare. It's, complex arrangements, lengthy solos. But the reason why I chose this, and when I was listening to it today, I thought because the subject matter talks about, you know, nature versus science, right? And there's a news snippets in it talking about stem cell research and the value of it, and would you delve into research for stem cell research, etc., to rejuvenate cells? And being someone who has a physical disability, I thought, okay, it struck a chord with me personally. And I thought, having cerebral palsy, I thought, okay, if I was given the opportunity to dive into that, like to try an experimental, stem cell situation, to rejuvenate my cells, if I could be walking again, would I delve into it, or would I just remain, physically challenged? So I thought, yeah, this hits home for me. So I thought, yeah, this is the one I'll pick. And it's just a fantastic piece of work. And it does beg the question, what would you do? So,
well said. Well said. And I know when we did the 1992 show, I had all these comments saying, why hasn't anyone picked Dream Theater? So I'm glad somebody's for this show has picked Dream Theater, because, there were a few people ragging and saying, don't forget Dream Theater. No, well done. Yeah. That's a good choice.
That's a great track, too, and it doesn't get talked about enough. That's my favorite track on that album.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I just think the album as a whole doesn't get talked about enough, because it follows Scenes from a Memory Part 2.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, no, it's really good. I was listening to it again today just to make sure I made the right choice, and yeah, I did. So I'm sticking by it. So.
Yeah, that's good. Good stuff. All right, thanks, Armando. That's great. Steve Deluxe from Wellington, New Zealand. What have you got for us, mate?
Yeah, hi, Peter. Well, first of all, looks like there's going to be a bit of music I need to catch up on and listen to. It's, sounds all those songs people have recommended sound really good, and I'm not overly familiar with most of them, so I'll be checking those out. Also, really pleased that no one's chosen my song. So so in 2002, I was actually I was living out your way, Peter. I was living in Sydney. And I wasn't there for very long, but while I was there, I was watching a music video show. It was late at night, and they were playing, quite a few like hard rock, heavy metal music videos. And this music video came on, and it's just like as soon as I heard it, the intro, I was like, "What? Who is this band? And what is this song?" And the band was a band called Lacuna Coil, and this is their album Coma Lies. And the song was Heaven's a Lie. And it's got this great sort of the keyboard intro with the guitars. And then this female vocal comes in. So they're an Italian band, and they've actually got two vocalists. They've got the female vocalist called Christina, and male vocalist. He does more the more metal kind of vocals. Sometimes it's more sort of a death metal kind of vocal. So his name's Andrea. And so this was, I think, their third album, but I'd never heard of them beforehand. And so I watched the music video, loved the song, and then went out and tried to find it. But I think at that point that had only been released as a single, so the album actually hadn't quite come out yet. So I actually bought a CD single. I bought it as a CD single, and and then the album came out a little bit later. I got the album. And that was in 2002. The popularity of the song actually didn't really become popular until about 2003. And they actually did a second video, because the video I saw was just them in the studio, real basic kind of video. When it gained a bit of popularity, they then did another video, which is a lot more, obviously had a much bigger budget. And they became fairly popular. They're still going today. In fact, they're about to re-release Coma Lies. So it's going to be like one of those re-recorded deals where they're going to re-record the album again, and they're going to have the original album as well. So, and it's coming out on vinyl, so that's pretty cool. So because I haven't got the original on vinyl, so I'll have you'll be able to get the original and also the re-recorded version of Coma Lies. And just still like for me, my favorite song from them. They've put out quite a few albums since then, and yeah, there's some great stuff on there. I guess you'd call it symphonic metal a little bit. They're not as symphonic as Nightwish, those kind of bands, but there's definitely elements of that, or Within Temptation, but similar to those kind of bands. It's a good song. Yeah.
Oh, well done. Yeah. Alrighty, no worries. Peter Wicks.
Hey, heaps of new stuff on here that I don't know. So it's lucky we're putting together a playlist. Okay, my pick is a band called Spoon. I don't know if that's glaring, off an album, Kill the Moonlights. I don't know if you know Spoon. They've had about 10 albums. They're out of Austin, Texas.
Yes, we do.
They're just a great rock band. They don't have a specific sound, but when you hear one of their songs, it's distinctly Spoon. They've got one of those sounds you just can't put your finger on and describe. But anyway, I could have picked any song off that album. It's a fantastic album. But the one I'm going for is Jonathan Fisk. It's not one of the singles, I don't believe, but I don't know what to say about it. I don't know what it's about, really. There's a line in it I love because I went to a religious school, and that line is, religion don't mean a thing. It's just another way to be right-wing. I thought that was a great line. It's just a great balls-out song. Check it out. Jonathan Fisk.
I love Spoon. And they're probably the biggest cult. One of the, they chart in America. They go top 10, but a lot of people don't know them. It's they just fall under the radar. They just, yeah.
You can still see them in a small venue when they come to Australia. It's brilliant. I've seen them a number of times. They're fantastic live too. Yeah,
they've done the big day out a few roundabouts, but they had a new album out earlier this year. Check it out. It's excellent. They're very a lot of it goes back to Beatles, very Beatlesque. He sort of sounds a little bit like John Lennon, and it goes back to that classic rock and roll. I love it. Yeah. Great. John the Music Nut, welcome. What do you got, mate?
Thank you very much. Yes, the new Spoon album, Lucifer on the Sofa, is one of my 3 favorite albums of this year so far. I love that band. Another band I love, Armando. You have impeccable tastes. You're welcome. I was going to pick a different song from that album, but fortunately we have backup. So I'm going to talk about a song that is about moving on from tragedy. In this case, 2 tragedies. The man who wrote this song was getting over the loss of his daughter, who died in a car accident, and as well as his wife, who died from cancer. And the band took a break, and they got back together, and Neil Peart from Rush wrote this song, Shadows on the Road Behind, Shadows on the Road Ahead. There's nothing that can stop you now. Nothing can stop you now. Ghost Rider by Rush, and the album's Vapor Trails. Just a wonderful song about moving on from something that went on bad in your life. He took a year off, and Ghost Rider, he's the Ghost Rider. He was a motorcycle enthusiast, and he took a trip across the United States for a year on his motorcycle to clear his head and to move on from a very difficult point in his life. And it's a fantastic song. One of the best songs on this album, Vapor Trails, the best song in my opinion. And it's my rock song of 2002.
Fantastic book too.
Absolutely.
John.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, the book's incredible. Yeah, great pick.
Yeah. Is that the original CD or the remixed version?
This is the original. I got to pick up the remix, but yeah, this is the original one that was recorded.
I picked up the remixed version of it. Yeah, no, it's a good album.
Well, I'm a bit different. I've only got the remix version. I haven't got the original. So should I go back to the original, Rush fans? Maybe.
No, you're set.
You're okay. You're okay.
If you like more of a gritty sounding mix, that's what the that's what the criticism is of the original. If you like more of a cleaner mix, a pristine mix, then go for the remix version.
Yeah, I love that album. I love it. I think it's bittersweet because you know what personal tragedies were happening in the Rush world. But that is an outstanding track. But yeah, as I said, I've only just got the remix album. I haven't got the original. So maybe I'll get it.
That was my second backup. I was going to pick Freeze.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, over to me. So anyone who knows me knows that I'm a sucker for garage rock. And there was a lot of garage rock in the early part of the 2000s. And especially in 2002, there was an Australian band that came out of nowhere. I have spoken about them previously, and I am talking about the Vines. So my choice is going to be Get Free. So it's only goes for 2 minutes, 2:06. It's 2 minutes of just, balls out rock. It's got everything I love about garage rock. It's got a lead vocalist, Craig Nichols, that's bratty, snotty, got attitude, probably sums up, his persona. It's a song that doesn't follow the chorus verse. It's a little bit unusual because there's a little bit of a Beatlesque bridge in the middle, which is quite unusual. But, compacted into 2 minutes. And a lot of these songs, and Peter Wicks and I did a recent show on Debut, one of their songs, Highly Evolved, only went for 96 seconds, but it seems longer, But, they just make a 2 minute song sound like bliss. And they were big for a period of time. Like the Highly Evolved album went to number 11 in the US. I was surprised it went platinum. This song Get Free charted at UK 24, Australia 44, but they were big news, and they were on the first Australian act in many, many years to get on the cover of Rolling Stone with Rock Is Back. So there was a lot of heat. But like a lot of bands in that era, they just could not keep the momentum going. So you had a lot of bands like The Hives and Franz Ferdinand or whatever, where they had that one powerful PAL debut, but they just could not keep up the momentum. But to me, the Vines, that's where it was at for me for 2002. And I think that they started to get a little bit erratic, went out of control. And it reminds me of the performance in the David Letterman show where I think Craig Nichols destroyed the drum kit when they were playing live, and it hit the David Letterman ban list. And I think that was the start of the end of the Vines. You could sort of, Craig Nichols had Asperger's, and his performances became more and more erratic. And a lot of their subsequent albums were more of the same. But I think, Lightning in a Bottle, that debut, the sweet spot was Get Free. And that's my pick for 2002. So that's great. Now, everyone had a backup song. So if you don't mind, if we haven't chosen about it, we could just have a quick, just word of what your second song was. If we had a hypothetical bonus disc on Spotify, if you don't mind, because I had a backup song. So, Joe, did you have a backup? The backup.
Yeah, it was actually Ghost Rider. Off of the Rush album, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
And Todd?
I had 3. You want me to just give my first backup?
Yeah, or you could give me 3. Just, yeah.
It was Blackest Eyes, what Bicyclelegs picked. And then I picked Freeze Part 4 of Fear from Vapor Trails. And then my third backup was The Scientist from When Coldplay Were Good.
Oh, I like that. Well done. Bicyclelegs.
Yeah, I had a few that I picked just in case for something completely different. My Baby's Taking Me Home by Sparks. Really minimalist art pop. I mean, the song is basically just the title of the song, My Baby's Taking Me Home, repeated over 100 times. And the only other lyric in the song is there's a spoken word in the middle. But other than that, and they just build and build and build and build on this repetition, and it just becomes hypnotic. It's wonderful. The other ones I picked were Any Road from the posthumous George Harrison album Brainwashed. Beautiful, beautiful song. Wonderful album too. For something Australian, I picked probably the only album by this band I really, really love, and that is The Greatest View by Silverchair from Diorama. It's when they sort of shed their grunge influences and went for a really orchestrated Baroque pop kind of sound with Van Dyke Parks doing the arrangements and that. And then the last one was one Todd's already picked, which was Genius from Warren Zevon.
Good stuff. Reed, any backups that you want to talk about?
Sure. I was reasonably confident no one else was going to go Bowie on this, but I did have a backup just in case. For something completely mainstream, I went with the first track off of Oasis's Heathen Chemistry, a song called The Hindu Times. It is just a fantastic album opener. Oasis was always so good at their album openers. It's just thick and distorted, and who knows what the hell the song lyric is about, but it's just the kind of anthem that you can get drunk and punch your neighbor to. And it's got this great little guitar line in it that some people say they stole from the Polyphonic Spree, actually, of all people. And I have no idea if Noel Gallagher ever listened to the Polyphonic Spree, but I'm like, people, it's just on the scale, it's just 3, 4, 5. I mean, there's only so many combinations of those 3 notes that you can do. So eventually you're going to have some overlap. But it's a great song. It has nothing to do with the Hindu Times. He apparently named it after a T-shirt. You know, when you're a famous rock musician, you can, I guess, choose whatever title for songs you want.
No, good one. Good one. Armando.
I had, you see, because when I put together playlists or CDs, I like to put in some instrumental stuff. Like, you know, if I have a group of heavy, you know, like heavy rock stuff, songs, I like to slip in a couple of instrumental pieces here and there just to sort of break it up a little bit. For me, I chose as a backup from Opeth for Absent Friends.
Nice.
And it's just this simple 2-minute, 17-second guitar piece. Just a very beautiful song. So I thought it's a very quiet piece. So I thought this would be a nice little sort of soother, maybe in the middle of the list.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, that's fine.
No, good stuff. Steve.
I just only had one backup. I was pretty hopeful that my choice wasn't going to get taken, but it's a very similar one. Nightwish and Bless the Child.
Lovely. Symphonic rock.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Peter Wicks.
My backup choice was You Think I Ain't Worth a Dollar But I Feel Like $1 Million from Queens of the Stone Age. First track off Songs for the Deaf. And it just hits you like a freight train when it punches in. It's just a awesome rhythm.
Fantastic. And I'll quickly wade in because I chose another song off the album, No One Knows.
That's the one I chose.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite songs. I was tossing up between that and The Vines. I just love the production on that song and the drums of Dave Grohl, very crisp.
Yeah. Very heavy.
Stoner rock was in the charts. It was all over it. It was, just a nice deep groove and Josh Homme. And that album is really, really stellar, even though it's loosely conceptual about some pirate radio station, which is a little bit cliched, but I think it was one of the best albums of that year. Loved it.
It's annoying on your MP3s on your iPod with the radio bits in between the songs because they at the beginning and the end, it's just like a
little bit that's been done before.
Yeah.
And close it off, John the Music. Now, what was any backups you want to talk about?
Well, Ghost Rider was actually my backup, but we wanted to talk about one band at a time. I was actually going to go with The Glass Prison from this album.
Okay.
14-minute song, talks about the 12-step suite of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it's 14 minutes, but it feels like 6 minutes. It just takes you on a ride musically. It never meanders at all. There's no slow parts or anything. Just a lot of great movements that are very memorable, and the musicianship is off the charts. You were saying about 1992. Why weren't more people picking Dream Theater? I actually like this more than Images and Words from 92. I prefer When They Got Heavier on this album and Train of Thought, their next one.
Yeah, great. All right, well, thanks, guys. I think we have got a fantastic song list for 2002. I will, put it up. Everyone is on some fantastic channels. Please check it out. I will put it up on YouTube, all the various channels that you guys are on. Please like and subscribe to Rock Daydream Nation. And put your comments. What are your favorite songs from 2002? Any that we missed? And we'll have another show very shortly. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.